Welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Gilgo Four, and today I am going to be presenting to you a conversation that I had with criminal profiler John Kelly. And this is about the suspected serial killer Rex Heuermann that's from the Long Island serial killer case. If you've never heard of it, check out the playlist that's linked in the description box for you. And we're going to be talking about his letter writing to this new pen pal, Keith Jesperson, who is a convicted serial killer known as the Happy Face Killer. If you are a Grizzly patron or a member here on YouTube, you may recall this conversation because we've gone over it before. But I'm putting this out there because it's always interesting to hear what John Kelly has to say about serial killers, which he profiles and helps to catch, and about addiction because he's an addiction specialist. If you don't know who I'm talking about, check out his channel. It's called John Kelly Profiler. Also, if you want to see the entire letter, we've gone over that in a live stream, which is also linked below for you. The thumbnail says Rex Heuermann complains about jail food in letters to the Happy Face Killer. So check that live stream replay out. It's all timestamped for you, maybe before you dive into this episode, so that you can make the most of this conversation. Thank you so much for all your support and patience as I recover from what I'm calling Kershevsky flu. If you watched the eye drops murder trial with me, then you know that Jessie Kershevsky's sentencing has been delayed because she wrote a 37-page letter. We went over that twice, and the second time gave me what I'm calling Kershevsky flu. So I'm going to have to save my voice for a little bit longer, and I'll see you again live very soon. So thank you so much, and let's get into this.
Rex Heuermann. I'm an architect, I'm an architectural consultant, I'm a troubleshooter, born and raised on Long Island. Okay. Been working in Manhattan since 1987. And it's actually a cabinet maker's hammer.
The work is not done here, but this is a major, major step forward.
My reaction is, this is nuts. It's really, really crazy. You never know, you never know who your neighbors are, right?
Please note that this content is for adults only. Viewer discretion advised. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, like, and share. Did you hear that Rex Heuermann is writing to another serial killer? They're writing to each other, the Happy Face Killer, that Keith Jesperson. And that's not good for his case because he's kind of like, I've had a lot of time to think about everything. He's also not saying, I'm innocent, help me, what do I do?
Well, I've had interactions with the Happy Face Killer on a number of occasions, okay? And I understand in the letter he sent Rex that he's found God or something, and he wants Rex, to give it up and to confess to his murders.
That part I don't know, but I don't know that part.
I don't know if I'm correct on that, but I will tell you on your show that the Happy Face Killer and I had some pretty heated discussions, but he really got angry with me because, I called him on his stuff. I don't want to hear well, the only reason I killed these women is because I wanted to, help men out, and, these women were bad for men and they'd only destroy the man and his family. So this way, if I got rid of these women, I'd be doing society a favor. I mean, who are you talking to? I mean, come on.
He's a
right? I
vigilante.
don't want to kill them.
He did good work.
Yeah. And so,
Wow.
so you decide to have sex with them too. I mean, just,
Yeah.
yeah, right? I mean, just they're so bad, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, so that just happened to happen, right? And he's big. I mean, this guy's big.
Yeah, he's bigger than
giant
Rex.
of a man. Yeah. So I don't know. I think he suggested if I want to do an individual session with them at some time, I could come up to the prison.
Oh my word.
Yeah, but that was never going to happen.
Yeah.
That
Wow.
was never going to happen. I mean, that guy'd snap me in two. But I couldn't put up with all this, his nonsense. I mean, he's the real deal. He's a serial killer. He's killed multiple people, women. But I just find it interesting now that he's decided to turn over this leaf,
Mm-hmm.
and
And he just confessed, to the eighth victim, even though he claims to have killed 160. Now because there was a video last month that came out. So when I was making comparisons between Rex and him, I mean, he was called Igor or Igor. I don't know how you guys say it in America, but in school, Igor, which is also like an ogre, like a troll, and same as Rex, which was now he's being called an ogre. Mm-hmm. So it was just, there's quite a few similarities between the two of them. I'm like, oh man, they're going to be besties, write to each other. These letters are going to get quite interesting. Quite odd.
Well, I'll tell you what, if Rex decides to start writing, I hope he has his muscles in his hands are good, because when I tell you that Happy Face is an obsessive writer, underline that, okay? Because he loves to write people. And the other thing with him, he is not shy at all in getting some publicity. I mean, I don't know if you know his history, but he had gotten away with his murders and, set himself up to get caught by taunting the police with various letters.
Yes.
He put himself in prison.
Yeah, exactly. He needed that attention. He didn't like the falsely accused.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's getting it here too.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting the attention with Rex.
And isn't it so unfortunate for his daughter? The daughter was helping Asa, Rex's wife, set up that GoFundMe. Mm-hmm. And now here comes her dad. I just think her dad is so invasive. Like, here he comes again. Mm-hmm. And now he's kind of taking over that. I think he's really like quite the coercive controller, huh? Especially over her life.
Well, they all are. And, I mean, I look at, and I look at serial killers and I say, well, they don't feel any really empathy or really don't feel connected. And I'll double underline that for Happy Face with different things he said to me, to us when we were interviewing him on the show. But, it's like when it comes to their families, there is this certain type of care and concern or empathy. I'm not sure what it is. I called it narcissism by proxy. I really believe that these guys, most of them are so visual that they see part of themselves in their children. Okay, more so than their wives. Okay, the kids are more important in a lot of ways to them, right? and they just see themselves, in there, like, the son or the daughter may have similar looks like they do or whatever. And I think that's the connection. I don't, because I mean, they certainly, I think for family, they do have some feelings, but I mean, it's rare. I mean, I had 2 weeks ago, I had a guy, I can't mention his name, but I was talking to a guy and he says, yeah, my son's trying to send me on a guilt trip, because I wasn't around when he was growing up and this and that and everything. I said, well, don't worry about it. You don't feel guilt, do you?
Yeah. Yeah.
You start laughing. He said, you're right, I don't. I mean, yeah. So he doesn't feel any guilt at all, and no remorse. He said remorse too. You're right. You don't feel remorse here. I mean, it's just it's the way it was born. I mean, there's some of these guys. I mean, I mean, with all of them, you have a certain amount of abuse of one way or the other, but there's weird genetics there too.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's just the way they are.
Yes.
It's the making of the monster, Gisela.
Mm-hmm.
Making of the monster.
I've decided to add in my presentation, in case you missed it, comparing Keith Jesperson to Rex Heuermann, because there's some interesting similarities. And then I've also linked in, right after that, the clip from my live stream of me reading through the letter that Rex Heuermann wrote. So enjoy that, and I'll see you in the next one.
And I don't know who wrote first. I think obviously by what Rex said in his letter, Keith Jesperson wrote to him first. Hope and Fear says, pen pals is a bit awkward. Yeah, just a little bit awkward, right? Oh, man. Thank you so much, Barbara Jean says, so looking forward to this update. We always appreciate your updates. They're so informative. Thank you so much. Okay, so what I've done here is made a side-by-side comparison between Keith Jesperson and Rex Heuermann. Just some bullet points. Of course, it's not all the bullet points, but some that I find quite interesting. So now Keith Jesperson is a convicted serial killer, and he has 8 known victims, and he says he killed 160 women. Rex Heuermann, he's got 3 suspected victims so far, because he's a suspected serial killer, right? Okay, so Keith, born April 6th, 1955. Rex Heuermann, born February 12th of 1964. So Keith is 68 right now in 2023, and Rex is 59 in 2023. So I thought maybe you'll be interested in, are they the same age? Did they do crimes at the same time? Of course, Rex is suspected, innocent till proven guilty. Keith was a truck driver. Rex was an architect. Keith was married with 3 children, and Rex was married with 2 children. Rex was married twice. Now, interestingly, Keith Jesperson, his brothers nicknamed him Igor or Igor, which is an ogre in school. Isn't that hectic? Because now Rex Heuermann is nicknamed Ogre. They say so tall, he's so big, he's an ogre. People call him an ogre. What? That was like, oh my word, Igor. I wonder if you guys say Igor or Igor. Janet says the daughter of the Happy Face Killer did a lot of interviews. Yes, indeed. She's an advocate online on X. I've seen her there. She's got a podcast. She's done a lot of interviews and documentaries. She's been on Oprah and Dr. Phil, ABC, Crime Watch Daily, I think, or lots. Yes, indeed. So Igor and Ogre, right? Victims, 8 known, many suspected. He claims 160. Okay, then. And Rex Heuermann, victims 3+ suspected, because we anticipate at least Maureen Brainard Barnes will be added to his charges. That's what the district attorney and the police commissioner and investigators have alluded to. They're still obviously looking into that. And I mean, it could be 10 victims or more. We will have to see. Keith Jesperson's crimes, his span of crimes was from 1990 to 1995. And Rex Heuermann's suspected span of crimes is from 1996 to 2011. I'm always like, till 2011. I'm so suspicious of that. What did he do between 2011 and 2023? I would say from 96 to 2023. You know, but okay. 1990 to 1995 and Rex 1996 to 2011. Most victims of Keith Jesperson were sex workers or transients, and they were murdered by strangulation. And of course, Rex Heuermann's suspected victims were also sex workers and murdered by strangulation. So there's a couple of things they have in common here. Keith is serving a life without parole sentence, consecutive sentences, actually life sentences, no parole at Oregon State Penitentiary. And of course, Rex Heuermann is currently at the Suffolk County Correctional Facility. Hope and Fear says, me too, gee, I want to know. Yeah, I mean, they're saying till 2011 because that's when the bodies were discovered on Gilgo Beach. But what if he'd actually found a different spot, you know, to dump bodies? I don't know. He couldn't have, I don't know, in my mind, he couldn't have done nothing between 2011 and 2023, and he continued to go on dates. We've seen people come forward, so that's quite interesting as well. Oh my word. Alpha She-Wolf says, Jefferson resides here in Salem, Oregon at the Oregon State Penitentiary, about 5 miles from my house. Wow, you said I used to do flu shot clinics at the state pen. Oh my goodness. So let's continue on. It's a very short presentation. Don't worry, it's 3 pages, but we do love presentation time. So Keith, I just put the years they were born again as a reminder at the top of this page. Now, Keith was a middle child with 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and Rex has 2 older sisters and a younger brother, so he's like technically also the middle child, right? So anyway, Keith was teased for his large size as a kid. Rex was teased for his large size as a kid. Keith is 6'7". Rex Heuermann, 6'6". A loner and a target. Well, guess what? Rex Heuermann, a loner and a target. That's how people describe them. Keith was married, 3 kids, and killed his first victim after divorce. Rex Heuermann has been married twice and has 2 children, and the timeline of suspected killings seems to start after his first divorce. I don't know if you guys remember that massive timeline that we did. It's on the playlist, where we looked at every phase of Rex Heuermann's life. And that was interesting to see that as soon as he got divorced from his first wife, he bought his childhood home. He got married shortly after that. And that seems to be around the time when his suspected serial killing started. So Keith was apparently beaten by his father as a child with a belt. I put that there because I don't know yet about suspected serial killer Rex Heuermann's childhood. We don't know enough. But he sure had belts. You know, he bound his victims with belts. There was that belt that they showed with the H&M on it, or, well, was it with the little engraving on it. So that's interesting as well. Maybe we'll find out more over time. Rob says, I remember that massive timeline. The timeline was huge. And so Keith Jesperson wanted to join the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, but a head injury prevented him from being able to qualify. And I'm not sure yet, if suspected serial killer Rex Heuermann had any interest in working with the police, but there's lots of speculation that he actually was connected to some of those shady police officers, like Burke or James Burke that we looked at before. Who knows? That's kind of what Attorney John Ray is alluding to sometimes, is that he could have known police officers. And remember when Rex Heuermann said to, what was that lady's name? The one that went on a date with him in 2015. Oh, I can't remember her name right now. If you remember, please let me know. But then he said, how do you think he dumped the bodies? And then he said, well, if it was a cop car, no one would suspect anything, right? So I wonder if he had any, if he ever wanted to be a police officer or whatever. Yeah, Hokuto Tube says their profiles are almost the same. Just from these bullet points, it's quite interesting, right? Iri says, Goedenavond. Oh, Goedenavond to you. So Keith Jesperson taunted the police and the media, and Rex Heuermann taunted the victims' friends and families. And Keith taunted the police and the media by writing letters and saying, like, you've locked up the wrong people with those others that did the false confession. And so he started drawing little smiley faces on the letters. That's how he became known as the happy face killer. Yes, okay. That's correct. Nikki Brass was her name. Nikki Brass, okay. From the 2015 date. She said she went on a date with Rex Heuermann and he was talking all about Gilgo. I'm just trying to see this chat is flying. I'm seeing what you guys are saying here. Lindsay Hendricks says, finally found out Melissa Moore, the killer's daughter, had a show on Lifetime titled Monster in My Family. I believe I watched a few episodes here on YouTube, notably one with Richard Ramirez's family. And she's also written a book, so I'll show you that as well. They show her lots of love and support. Yay! Joe Jackalone is in the house. He said he's a proud Grizzly, you guys. Sarge. Retired sergeant from the NYPD. Go check out his channel. You could just click on there, I'm sure, or just find Joe Jackalone. Thank you for being here. So, this is the last slide of this presentation. Keith Jesperson, convicted serial killer. I just wanted to, put pictures of the victims side by side. Of course, Rex Heuermann, it looks like a lot more. He's a suspected serial killer of the 4 victims that you see first. 3 out of the first 4 victims you see pictured on the left. On the right-hand side, there's more pictures. So some of them are duplicates. But, I mean, who knows how many he may eventually be charged with. We shall see. Kate says, hi, Joe. Gee, so glad you're a Grizzly too. Yes. Leah says, gee, I was living in Long Island going through high school in North Massapequa at the time. So scary. Oh my goodness. That is scary. Okay, so we've looked at those comparisons. And now, what I want to show you. Oh yeah, there's this video of Keith Jesperson. I'm not going to show you the whole video because it's 7 minutes long. And it's actually where he confesses to murdering the 8th victim. But in the beginning, he talks about writing to other serial killers. Well, Rex is a suspected one.
Other killers that are, like I try to explain to other killers that are regional are arrested, and I write to them, I tell them how the system works. Mm-hmm. I said the system is, when you're dealing with serial crime, there's a difference than with a single murder. That you're opening yourself up for litigation all the way across the board, and you don't have no say in the matter. It just continues and continues and continues. So I always try to tell people to own it. Just admit you're caught. The only way you're caught, if you're arrested, means that the prosecutor has enough evidence to take you to court and prove you guilty. They wouldn't have arrested him if they didn't, right? Right. Yeah. So I've recently got a letter from Rex Heuermann from the Long Island serial killer. And I had told him the same thing, and he wrote me back, said, well, take it under advisement.
So I would say, I don't know, take it with a grain of salt, but apparently this is a copy of one of the letters that Rex Heuermann wrote to Keith Jesperson. And there's been quite a few ogre-sized serial killers. I mean, not all of them are like that, but like Ed Kemper as well. Huge. And quite a few of them have either had head injuries or which Keith Jesperson did have, and or wanted to work with the police or pretended to work or pretended to be a police officer like John Wayne Gacy did. Quite interesting. Rob says, dear, it's not in their vocabulary. It's not there. They're just like Keith. So now let's look at this. So it says, Keith, first off, I would like to say thank you for your letters and advice. They have been a help and comfort to me. Oh, he's comforted by another serial killer. I do understand. Well, I mean, I guess if Rex turns out to be a convicted serial killer, yeah, they've got a lot in common. And we just looked at a presentation of a lot of things they could talk about. Oh dear. So he said, they have been a help and comfort to me. I do understand what you have said and taken it to heart. Oh, he took it to heart. Being only a month and a half into this, as you know, I've had a lot to think about. Right now, I need to get a few things in order, which the lawyers are working on. It's not like, help me, I'm innocent. It's just like, yeah, I got a lot to think about. Okay, So he said, you were right about letters. I've gotten a number of them. So they were obviously, I think there were a few letters maybe that Jesperson wrote to him, right? My goodness. Joe says Rex lived only a few blocks away from the Nassau County Police Academy. Oh goodness. Yep. You never know. Was he a wannabe or what? So you were right about the letters. I've gotten a number of them asking for interviews, to be friends, pen pals, and one guy who sent me 3 letters asking me to write back to add to his collection of letters. I don't know, does Rex feel cool in that moment right now? Yeah, I'm very popular. People are writing to me. You were right. We're famous now, you and I. Oh dear. You are the only person who I have written back to and plan to write back to. See, now it gets like plan to write to. I know I have gotten into great detail. It's a bit difficult to read this. You are the only person who I have written back to and plan to write back to. You know, I've gotten into great detail. I am not checking if my mail is not being read. Something like that. If you guys see something else, let me know. It's kind of hard. I mean, they did give us some clues in that Fox News article, but some of it I'm like, what? I'm like, I want to ask the Grizzlies to help because I've looked at this about 3 times. And normally I'm pretty good at decoding writing, but this freaking curly writing, my goodness, Rex. Can you just write in all caps? Can Rex write in all caps so we can read what he's writing? So maybe Keith took a few moments there to also be like, wait, what? Oh, I'm not sure if my mail is not being read. I did have one officer make a comment to me that he knew you were writing to me. So it sounds like the Oregon State Penitentiary is not such a bad place to be. OSP, right? Do you have butter for your bread? Oh my word! It's like, do you have butter for your bread? Okay. Do you have butter for your bread? How is the day-to-day food? I will admit the food there at the Suffolk County Correctional Facility is not much to look forward to each day. Also, Yard is just walking in circles outside. Can you believe it? Do you have butter on your bread? From one suspected serial killer to a serial killer. Do you have butter on your bread? I'd love to see how he writes back. I do have butter on my bread. Don't you have it? The butter letters. Oh dear. So he said, I will admit the food is not much to look forward to each day. Did you think you were going to look forward to food in jail? Oh dear. Okay. Also, Yard is just walking in circles outside. I do understand what you have told me. Also, that timing is important with this process. I'm working out the timing. Next court date is 9/27. As I understand it, that it is just is that a conference or what does that say? Just a something court date. So I do not expect too much to happen. I've not even seen the discovery yet at this point. Okay. Forensic Fury says, it's better with butter. Is that in the New York accent as well? Yeah, Pernil. Wait, have you guys got salted butter? Any food? It's like, what kind of food you got back there? Oh my goodness. So it says, so he hasn't seen the discovery yet at this point. I'm sorry it took so long to write back to you. I know I should have done it sooner. The main thing I wanted to say was thank you to you and yours for the letters and what has been done for me. Thank you, Rex.